All right, so Adam Silver ended up getting on the NBC News, and he was talking about the CBA negotiation that's going on between, of course, the owners and the players. And he absolutely said something that pissed the WNBPA off. All right, they ended up taking shots at him, which I will show y'all that after this. Let's go ahead and take a listen to what he had to say.
Okay, so Adam Silver just detonated a bomb no one saw coming, and the WNBPA, yeah, they completely melted down. But here's where it gets downright insane. What he spilled actually uncovers the hidden reason this entire deal is collapsing. And before this video ends, you'll see exactly why there might not even be a WNBA in 2026. I'm not even slightly exaggerating. This is way bigger than anyone wants to admit. So Adam shows up on NBC News, right? Chatting all calm about the CBA talks. Totally normal. Until he suddenly drops one line that flips everything. Listen to this.
I mean, I think share isn't the right way to look at it because there's so much more revenue in the NBA. I think you should look at it in absolute numbers in terms of what they're making, and they are going to get a big increase in this cycle of collective bargaining, and they deserve it.
So the main part that I want us to pay attention to is this first part, okay? It's really quick. This clip was really quick, but we need to pay attention to what he said right here.
Yes, I mean, I think share isn't the right way.
Did you catch that? The share isn't the right way to look at it. That single line just exposed the master plan. Because here's what everyone keeps missing. When Adam Silver says, "Don't look at shares," he's flat out admitting the players will never, ever get what they're demanding. And wait for it. The WNBPA instantly fired back with an Instagram story saying, "Don't want to share, Adam Silver?" Complete with a question mark, calling him out in public. It's chaos, pure chaos. But here's the punchline, Adam's not wrong. I'll break down exactly why in a moment. First, you need to see the math no one dares mention. Players crave a revenue split like the NBA's. Sounds fair, right? Until you actually crunch the numbers.
And by the way, it's not even the owners, it's the players. So the players get 50% of the money. Where does the rest of the money go? And this is revenue, not profit, not 50% of profits. They want 50% of revenue. So the WNBA costs, let's just make the maths easy. Let's just say it costs 100 million to run the WNBA. It doesn't, it costs way more. When it take into
10 to 36, so that right there just exposed the whole mess. If the league pulls in 100 million, spends 100 million to survive, and players still grab 50 million, every single owner bleeds cash. It's a guaranteed loss. No investor alive signs up for that disaster. But hold up. It gets even more unbelievable. See, the WNBA isn't built like the NBA at all. The NBA owns every cent of its revenue. The WNBA? They don't even control half. Third-party investors. The NBA itself bailing them out. It's a tangled web where teams are minority owners in their own league. So when players scream for 50%, they're asking for something that literally can't exist under this broken setup. And here's where things really start to get spicy.
that are in high positions that benefit from the league not existing. There are players that benefit from the league not existing. And by the way, we know these players that are in the PA have basically diplomatic immunity from getting fired. If Unrivaled goes 5v5, they're going to make a lot more money. But you want to know who's not going to make more money? The 60.
Zero professionalism from the WNBPA. Harsh words, right? But take a look at what he's actually calling out. They leaked their own awards just to spite Caitlin Clark, demanded investigations into things that never even happened, and ended up deleting posts after getting roasted by their own players. It's a circus. But here's the twist almost no one's connecting. Some of the so-called leaders in this union might actually gain if the WNBA collapses. Let that sink in. If Unrivaled switches to 5-on-5, a handful of stars cash in big time. But guess who doesn't? The 60 or 70 players scraping by on minimum contracts. They lose everything. And that's where this whole situation turns disturbingly dark.
Listen closely to what he said here. We got to dial in right here. He's speaking really fast. Let's listen to this next part.
The NBA, I think you should look at it in absolute numbers in terms of what they're making.
I think you should look at absolute numbers in terms of what they're making. Because this could be a big increase, right? We don't see in their proposal. The max going from 200,000 to 850,000. That's a big increase. That's a big increase, right? The minimum being...
We're not trying to get y'all this share money. He basically just said the quiet part out loud. They'll hike salaries a little, sure. Tweak efficiency, trim a few costs, maybe slash a couple of budgets. But that sacred revenue percentage? Yeah, that's locked in stone. And it really makes you wonder, was last season's trash officiating actually a side effect of cost cutting so they could stuff a few extra dollars into players' checks? Were they already trying to boost pay without touching the split? Because here's the part making players completely lose it. The math might already be rigged against them. And they're just now realizing it.
I believe that we are seeing this type of thing. And look, I think the players should make a lot more money. I think apparently somebody like who knows the WNBA finance really well is like, even if the players got 80% of their merch, and they got like a percentage of ticket revenue, which they actually get none of right now. But it's like, even if you give them 80% of their merch, apparently the total still goes to about only of just over $1 million. And they're not going to do.
So now they're flat out rejecting a fixed salary cap with steady raises. They want it pegged to revenue instead. Sounds bold, right? Except that means the numbers swing wildly every year, forcing every player into one-year deals because no one knows what next season's cap will be. Instant chaos. The whole league turns into financial quicksand. And here's the jaw-dropper. Even if players snagged 80% of their merch sales and a slice of ticket revenue, which right now they get absolutely zero of, it would only bump the total by maybe $1 million. That's it. The money they're demanding? It literally doesn't exist. And this is where the conversation gets seriously uncomfortable.
Y'all don't even own half of what's coming into your league. So that 9% might have to stay there the way that he's talking because of how they're falling short already on making enough money to pay for how much the league costs to run, right? So that 9% might have to stay there. I don't know. That's the way he's talking. He's like, maybe not look at it as far as shares. Now, to me, it sounds like he's saying we don't necessarily want to increase that share number. We're just going to get a little bit more efficient here and there within the business.
He finally said it out loud. They might actually be using the WNBA as a tax write-off. Yep. Losing money on purpose for those sweet tax breaks, which means the owners could profit more by not being profitable. Wrap your head around that. If you're raking in tax perks from running a league at a loss and getting a shiny PR boost for supporting women's basketball, why on earth would you ever sign a deal that guarantees you lose even more cash? You wouldn't. No sane owner would. And that's exactly why the players are boiling over. From their view, the league's exploding. Caitlin Clark is selling out arenas, and they're asking the million-dollar question. So where's all that money actually going? But here's what they're not seeing.
Where if the revenue split happens, it is essentially a guarantee the owners lose money, and there's no scenario where that's ever going to happen. And I think the players are like, there will never be a situation where they budge on the revenue split. There won't be. If there's no 2026 season, there's not going to be a 2027 season, there's not going to be a 2028 season. I think an argument could be made that it is beneficial that the whole league shuts down and it allows these players to start fresh.
The NBA isn't just sitting on the sidelines. They're minority owners who straight up rescued the WNBA. They didn't just invest in teams. They're literally propping up the entire league. And those shiny new third-party investors? They don't own franchises. They own slices of the league itself. So when players storm in demanding 50%, they're not just asking team owners to take a haircut. They're asking the NBA to take less. They're asking outside investors to take less. And guess what? None of those people have a single reason to say yes. This is negotiation psychology 101. The players think last season's hype gave them leverage. But did it really? Spoiler, not the way they think.
Coming in and talking his talk, he was going to settle everything. I thought he was going to fix everything. I called him Thanos to fix it. Man, he talking just like Kathy. He talking just like Kathy, man. He like, look, we not trying to get y'all this share money. We're going to find a way to get those increases going, right? Y'all going to make a little bit of more money, but y'all not going to get any more of this share. I'm sorry. we're not looking at it as shares because y'all not making a profit. Y'all not making close to as much as the NBA is making. So, nah, we not.
Even with Caitlin Clark lighting up the court like a human highlight reel, she still can't save the league. That's the cold truth no one wants to admit. Sure, she brought insane attention. Sure, ratings spiked. But one superstar, even a generational phenom, can't fix a league built on a broken foundation. And here's where the plot thickens. Unrivaled is already here. Project B is on the way with billions behind it. These new leagues? Totally different beast. Their investors are majority owners, sometimes full owners, so no messy revenue splits, no middlemen. Sounds perfect, right? Except, there's one massive issue with Unrivaled that everyone keeps pretending not to see.
Added 24 more players, got to like, 60 instead of 44, added 16 more players, made it 5v5 with 10 players per team. And the league becomes infinitely better, but they're so stuck on gimmick basketball that's not real basketball that they've screwed it. They've screwed it. Like, I think if Unrivaled was 5v5, I think a lot of other players would be playing. I think Caitlin Clark plays with 5v5.
If Unrivaled wasn't built around gimmick basketball, I'd be cheering for it. But that 3-on-3 setup? That's the deal breaker. Because if Unrivaled went full 5-on-5, this would be a totally different story. Caitlin Clark would probably join. Aja Wilson would probably jump in too, especially if there's a lockout. But instead of expanding rosters, they just tossed in 2 more teams. They could have added 4 players per squad and hit 60 players total instead of 44. They could have made it real basketball. Instead, they're clinging to this flashy 3-on-3 experiment that's trapping their own potential and leaving WNBA players in an impossible spot.
You can see with these WNBA posts, I think they might actually be half pushing to shut down the league. And I don't know if that's the worst thing in the world. Because at the end of the day, I think if I would be looking at that option way more favorably if Unrivaled was not gimmick basketball. If Unrivaled was just 5v5, if instead of adding 2 more teams to Unrivaled, they added 4 more players per team, they could have done it.
Structurally, a brand new league where players work directly with investors who own 100% of the operation would be a massive upgrade long term. The growth potential is real. No messy bailout ties to the NBA, no confusing ownership web, just a clean, independent system. But that only works if it's real basketball, not gimmicky 3-on-3 stuff. It has to be 5-on-5 to truly compete. Because right now, all that momentum from Caitlin Clark's rookie season, the record playoff ratings, the nationwide buzz, it's all peaking right now. If there's no 2026 season, that energy vanishes. This is the moment, and they're on the verge of throwing it away.